Okay, so this is another one of the rules that we're going to use. Now, if you see square roots inside of the problem, you want to think that you want to use the conjugate. So let's try to find the derivative of this thing. So, start out just like we did with the other problems. F of x plus h minus f of x. Now divided by h. All right. This becomes the limit as h tends towards 0. This is going to be the square root of x plus h minus the square root of x divided by h. All right. On the previous problems that we were dealing with, we wanted to cancel out the first and the last term so that then we could cancel out all the h's and get rid of that h on bottom. We can't do that on this problem. Okay? So what we're going to have to do is whenever you see the square roots, think that you want to multiply by the conjugate. Now the conjugate, the parentheses on this guy right here, is going to be the square root of x plus h, now plus the square root of x. But you can't just multiply by anything, you need to multiply by 1. All right, now what is this going to correspond to is if we have a minus b times a plus b, this is going to equal a squared minus b squared. Okay? And so what's going to happen with this top guy right here? We're going to have, this is going to be a, that's going to be b. So what happens when I square it? It's going to knock out the square roots. Okay? So this thing would equal the limit as h tends towards 0, and I'll write it like this. X plus h minus x divided by h, and multiplied by the square root of x plus h plus the square root of x. Okay, so now multiplying by the conjugate allows us to do what we did on the previous problem, where this first term and this last term will cancel each other out. So let's just go ahead and knock those guys out of the situation. And then we're left with the limit as h tends towards 0 of h, now square root of x plus h plus the square root of x. Remember, the name of the game is get rid of that h on bottom. Now that I've gotten rid of the x's on top, this h and that h will cancel each other out. So h and h cancel each other out. So that's going to be the limit as h tends towards 0 of 1 divided by the square root of x plus h plus the square root of x. Okay, now at this point in the problem, since we eliminated the h that was on the bottom, we can plug 0 in right there and just make that guy disappear. Now that's going to be the square root of x plus the square root of x, which equals 1 divided by 2 square root of x. Okay? And I told y'all you can't use the power rule on this first test. You need to use the definition of the derivative. But think about this. If I was going to take the derivative of the square root of x, it's really x to the 1/2 power, right? And so what's going to happen if I take the derivative of the square root of x? Right, I'm taking the derivative of x to the 1/2 power. It's going to spit out a 1/2. That's that 1/2 that's appearing right here. And now it's going to drop it down to x to the negative 1/2, because 1/2 minus 1 would be negative 1/2. And 1 divided by the square root of x, you can always think of, if you have it on bottom, that's the same thing as writing x to the negative 1/2. So we are getting to the correct answer. So the conjugate trick, that is how you end up handling square